Let's open the book on this. Today in Honolulu, a shocking turn of events has closed a local school for the entire year. Hey there, I'm Leah.
And I'm Garrett. Welcome to Laid Back Local, the news of the day, with Leah and Garrett in Honolulu.
First up, flash floods force Hokulani Elementary to shut for the school year. On March 23rd, heavy rain swelled Manoa Stream, the waterway that runs through the valley and can jump its banks quickly. The flood damaged 12 of the school's 18 classrooms. About 270 students are being relocated to nearby schools while repairs happen and counselors are on deck to help kids process the disruption and the scare. Zooming out, those March Kona low storms, slow-moving low-pressure systems that can dump sheets of rain, racked up an estimated $170 million in damage statewide.
Yeah, that hits different when it's an elementary school. In-person learning matters a ton at that age. Routines, FaceTime with teachers, recess with friends. I get why the Department of Education chose to relocate rather than flip them all to distance learning. But why not do a hybrid for a bit? Just to ease the load on nearby campuses.
Totally fair question. The school's call highlights that young kids learn best with hands-on support. Hybrid can sound flexible, but it splits attention and resources. For little ones, that can mean lost time and more stress. Plus, the building damage is extensive. Quick note, even though the floodwater receded fast, it left a mess behind. Soaked walls, unsafe wiring, and debris. That's not a safe learning environment until crews finish the gut and dry work.
Honestly, seeing counselors prioritized is a bright spot. Kids pick up on adult stress, so giving them space to talk through it is huge. Shout out to the nearby schools stepping up. Community resilience, right there. All right, let's roll on. Next up, Honolulu faces a $100 million bill from recent storms as recovery efforts continue. The city logged about 1,460 damage reports, with 23 homes destroyed. City-owned property and infrastructure took heavy hits. Mayor Rick Blangardi's administration is coordinating with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, to pursue recovery funding. The Honolulu City Council is combing through the budget for the 2027 fiscal year to plan longer-term fixes, and there's talk of tapping the city's rainy day fund, basically a savings account for emergencies, to cover urgent costs right now.
Real talk. Disasters front-load costs and back-load reimbursements. Federal money helps, but it's a process and it takes time. Using the rainy day fund now keeps debris removal and infrastructure repairs moving while we wait on FEMA. The strain is real for local government, especially when storms hit in clusters. Efficient use of every dollar matters. Triage the worst damage first, avoid duplication, and keep receipts tight for federal audits.
Yeah, that checks out. Still, I'm kind of curious. Why not hold off on the rainy day fund until FEMA locks in its share?
Because waiting can cost more. Delays stretch out road closures, slow reopenings, and inflate repair bills. Early action can reduce long-term damage. Think mold in buildings or roadbeds eroding after each rain. Spend now, save bigger later.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Next up, son testifies in a shocking attempted murder trial of a Maui doctor. In court here in Honolulu, the case centers on Gerhard Koenig, a Maui anesthesiologist. That's a doctor who specializes in anesthesia. He's accused of attempting to kill his wife, Ariel Koenig, during a hike on March 24th at the Palipuka Trail near the Nuanu Pali Lookout. Allegations include pushing her toward a cliff, trying to inject her with a syringe, and striking her with a rock. His son, Emil Koenig, testified that his father admitted trying to kill her. The defense claims self-defense, saying Ariel initiated the attack. Prosecutors presented evidence of premeditation, or planning ahead, including searches on infidelity and dangerous hikes. Testimony continues.
That's one for the memory bank, and not in a good way. The family dynamics here are complex. Alleged infidelity, a son's testimony, and a high-drama setting on a narrow trail. Justice has to sift intention from chaos. I'm down for that process playing out fully, with facts on the record and careful jury instructions. It's heavy, but that's the system working.
Keeping it real. The stakes couldn't be higher. The evidence of planning, if the jury finds it credible, could weigh a lot. but every claim has to be tested in court. We'll track what comes next.
On to the next. Next up, Trump's executive order challenges state-controlled mail-in voting systems. Former President Donald Trump signed an executive order on August 5th aiming to impose federal controls on mail-in voting. An executive order is a directive from the president to federal agencies. The order would require states to use federally compiled voter lists and USPS-approved ballot envelopes. For Hawaii, where most people vote by mail, that's a big operational shift. Scott Nago, Hawaii's chief elections officer, is reviewing impacts for our August and November election dates. Common Cause Hawaii, a nonpartisan elections watchdog, and U.S. Representative Ed Case criticized the order as overreach. Legal challenges are expected. California leaders are already teeing up a court fight. The Constitution generally gives states the lead role in running elections.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Centralizing voter data at the federal level raises questions about state autonomy, meaning the state's right to manage its own processes. The big concern is disenfranchisement, or making it harder for eligible people to vote if new rules confuse voters or clash with state systems this close to election days. Courts will likely weigh the constitutional balance. Also worth noting, repeated claims of widespread mail-in voter fraud changing outcomes have not been substantiated by evidence in prior elections.
That's a solid point. I'm all about clear, stable rules, especially when ballots are already being prepped. Not gonna lie, last-minute changes can jam up logistics and, confuse regular voters. Process matters here. Clean chain of custody, accurate rolls, and envelopes that get where they need to go on time. Let's see what the courts say, but the state's day-to-day know-how shouldn't get tripped up.
Switching gears just a little. Last up, Navy faces a legal battle over alleged Pearl Harbor pollution violations. The Wai'ola Alliance, a citizen environmental group, is suing the Navy under the Clean Water Act, the main federal law limiting water pollution. The case centers on the Red Hill fuel storage facility near Pearl Harbor. Even after the facility's closure, the group alleges ongoing discharges into Pearl Harbor and the southern Oahu Basal Aquifer, the island's main underground freshwater source. The Navy denies continuing violations and points to measures taken to prevent further releases. The legal question right now is whether there's a likelihood of future violations. There's also testimony about divided command structures and poor centralized tracking, which can make managing spills harder.
Yeah, this one's got legs, don't you think? Clean water is non-negotiable. The aquifer is how Oahu drinks. Accountability means data, independent monitoring, and timelines the public can track. If the discharges are ongoing, fix them fast. If not, then show the numbers and reassure people with transparency. Either way, lessons learned need to be baked into operations so we don't repeat the same mistakes.
So there's your big picture for today's headlines across Honolulu and beyond.
Thanks for tuning in to Laid Back Local, the news of the day, with Leah and Garrett in Honolulu. Have a great day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.